Oh, Captain, my Captain, welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today I'm tackling the 35th anniversary of Dead Poets Society, another film that I really like, uh, that happens to be celebrating an anniversary. Released in 1989, this movie stars Robin Williams, Robert Sean Leonard, Ethan Hawke, and Josh Charles, and it's directed by Peter Weir. And this has definitely developed into that odd little subdivision of movies where I think we've all watched a movie where like kids went to a prep school, but like most of us don't go to prep schools. Like, let's be honest. But we seem to be fascinated with people who do. Like, there's all of these. It's more than just because this is also in the radical teacher changes students' lives genre as well. But it's also in the prep school genre, which there's a lot of those, considering how few people ever get to attend the most esteemed academies in America, where all of the kids, at the beginning of this film, we learned 75% of these children will go on to Ivy Leagues. Cool. I'm assuming that the 25% just went to Stanford, which is it's MIT, the colleges that are like respectable, but not quite in the Ivy Leagues, but known, like it's known why they're not in the Ivy Leagues, they just kind of, but still highly respectable in regard to schools. And I'm sure there's nobody who's like, I went to the University of North Idaho after coming here. No, that's not happening. This is one of those schools. This film also has audio description on Apple, which is where I got it. I own it. And it's descriptive video service, which I thought was funny because that's sort of a little older, which means kudos to you guys for like using the same audio description all these years for this movie. Like, this is what it needs to look like, which is great audio description created long time ago, and you've stuck with it, and you've kept it, and you've attached it to the film, and it's traveling, and it's following. I don't know why this can't happen everywhere. I don't know why this is so hard. Like, it's great that this is here. I really enjoyed the audio description track, and it does feel like it was audio description that was recorded at least 20 years ago, I don't mind that because the film is 35 years old, so I don't need audio description that sounded like it was recorded yesterday. I'm fine with a track that sounds a little bit older for a film that sounds even older than the audio description track. So, makes sense. But this is where Robin Williams gets to play Professor Keating. He's the new professor of English for a group of young boys who are being established in this world. I'm actually wearing a Hogwarts shirt today, so it's another prep school movie when you think about it. But we damn you, JK. But Dead Poets Society is this organization that when Keating was going to school there, he and his friends had created, and they would go and they'd read poetry, and they'd meet women and read poetry to women, and he makes it sound very romantic, so the boys, of course, take up this Dead Poets Society thing. We see a lot of this just through a general gaze of, like, students, and the three students who have the most renown coming out of this, the three actors, Robert Sean Leonard, Josh Charles, Ethan Hawke, all play the characters that have the most development throughout the course of the film. Charles plays Knox, who is this sort of, I actually think he's cast as athletic in this one, which is kind of funny, but he's supposed to, there's something about his like build that he's got a little bit more of a athletic build to him. And he's one that sort of falls in love with this girl and over the course of the thing. So that's sort of his big thing. And then Ethan Hawke's character is a little bit more reserved of the group. And it's all about him breaking out of his shell. Todd Anderson, I think is his name. And he has to go from being the sort of shy one, the studious one that doesn't speak much, and into the big, bold, person who's at the end, "Oh, Captain, my Captain." Yeah, that line belongs. The inspirational line that everybody knows from this is started by Ethan Hawke. Then Robert Shannon Leonard plays the heart of the movie, Neil, who has an asshole of a father, just an asshole of a father, and it wears on him. And of course, that's what the crux of the movie is. So, impactful. Some people think it's a little, not everybody's a huge fan of Dead Poets Society and where it goes and the direction that it goes. And I think part of that is because it has so much competition in terms of inspiring teacher movies and also prep school movies. This was not the first prep school movie. It's also not the last. Wasn't the first inspiring teacher movie. Also won't be the last. So it's sort of stuck in the middle. So when people are looking at it, it's like, well, is this really peak of either of these genres? And I would argue, yes. I think this is at the top or near the top of this genre. But of both of them, of both prep schools and inspirational teacher genres. But, is it my favorite Robin Williams performance? No, but I think he's really good here. And I do like the Oscar nomination for him, although I would have thought it was weird if he won. Just be honest. I mean, considering like his performances, there are things that he wasn't even nominated for that I think are just more dynamic performances. Like I really love him in What Dreams May Come. I think he's heartbreaking in that. So it's a little underrated movie that I think more people should discover. But here he's great because that boldness that he has when he steps into a role really carries over into Keating, and teaching these kids how to not just walk a straight line, how to think for themselves, how to explore the English literature ahead of them instead of just accepting it for what it was. He has them tear out the introduction, which is written by somebody who's trying to, standardized literature, but literature is anything but. It's always, it's very imaginative in nature, and he's teaching them to sort of be imaginative in nature as well, including having them have an assignment where they write their own poem. And it just inspires a lot in these kids, and these kids grow and change a lot, but it's very sad to see their closed-off parents not recognize the positivity that he's brought to them and to be locked off from that. And I don't know if the film has the best ending. It's not the happiest movie, but I do love the movie. Desert Island movie would be tough to say that because it's not like I've seen Dead Poets Society a bunch of times, but it's never really, it's not a comfort movie. But it's something that I do love watching. So I'm sort of torn between saying, is this like a Desert Island movie or not? Because this is easily like my fifth or sixth time seeing Dead Poets Society. But it's also, I think I've actually seen like School Ties more, if that makes any sense. And I think I've seen Emperor's Club about the same amount of times as Dead Poets Society, and those films are both newer. So, and if we want to throw it in there, I'm a big fan of the Mighty Ducks franchise, so I've definitely seen D3 at least an equal amount of times, if not more, than Dead Poets Society. So, yeah, but I do think it's just a really solid film from Peter Weir and a really exceptional performance from Robin Williams. And honestly, really promising starts for Robert Sean Leonard, Ethan Hawke, and Josh Charles, who each get to have their moment in the sun. Kurtwood Smith is also in here. He's just great at being an asshole. That's all it is. He's here to be an ass. That's his lot in life. But yeah, it's a film that oddly I don't think many people can relate to, but yet we all sit there and we see what we see from this film is um, the hopes and dreams of the life. You know, it's your life, and there's something about how you're driven to choose something. You know, there's a force that's pulling you towards something, but his dad just keeps coming in and saying, "You're doing this, you're doing this, you're going to be a doctor." And there's nothing about this kid that says doctor, except the fact that eventually Robert Sean Leonard will be one on House. Other than that, unless this film was predicting that, um, there's nothing really about that that says that about his character. He doesn't seem like that at all. And there's so many parents who are like, "You will be a doctor. You're gonna be a lawyer. You know, you're gonna do one of these high paying jobs that is very stressful and requires a ton of education." And some kids just don't want that. And he's really interested in, at the beginning of the film, he gets, his father removes him from, I think, the school's newspaper. And then he tries his hand at acting and like raptures reception. Everybody but his father loves it. And he's got the audio description even points out his father's like the only one not clapping and standing, but everybody else is. And then they launch this inquiry, and it's like, the inquiry is bullshit. And some of them say it is, they know it is. And, you know, strong arming children, bringing their parents in the room. And yeah, I think that's probably the one thing that keeps it is I wanted that one kid I wanted more. Like Ethan Hawke's moment is saved for the "Oh Captain, My Captain," but we should have seen that his carpe diem moment be, this is bullshit. You know, before I was quiet, I didn't want to say or do anything or talk, and now I have a personality, and you're gonna blame him for that. You know, like it's very like, you know, I don't know, but I think that maybe if I had like one small quibble with this classic film, I would say that's probably the thing, is I would have loved for Ethan Hawke's character to have a moment before the "Oh Captain, My Captain," and then wrestle with it even more where, you know, because in that moment they're told, you know, if they stand, they'll be expelled or something like that. But then the whole class, so what is he going to do, expel the whole class? Except that one kid. But yeah, he could have had another moment. That would have been the only thing. If Mr. Weir and I had been friends back in the day and he had shown me this, I would have been like, can he have like a scene? Because I feel like that's where his character arc is. We're missing that scene. I think that's what this film is missing. Just a tiny bit. It's a great film, but if I'm sitting here trying to go like, is it A or A plus? You know, what is this thing that's keeping it from making me want to fight for it? When I'll take Deep Blue Sea, you know, to a desert island with me, which is not as good of a movie, but it knows what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like it included every scene that it thought it needed to include. Here, I think we're building to something from Todd, and it's like he wants to save it for the "Oh Captain, My Captain" moment, but I feel like you could have had more before that. Like he almost wants to do more in that scene where he's sitting there opposite the dean with his parents. He's like sitting there, and that should have been the moment where he should have said something and pushed back, and that's what I miss. Anyway, watch Dead Poet Society. It's excellent. It's got a lot of promising young talents in it who went on to go do great things. And another performance from the legendary Robin Williams, who's one of the greatest that ever was. So I'm going to give Dead Poet Society an A. Not a Desert Island movie, but I still think it's a terrific movie that I've seen multiple times. So thank you for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I will see you guys on the other side.